Today we're going to do the final assembly on my Winchester City Killer project. The Winchester City Killer is a shotgun in the video game Fallout and Fallout 2. To begin with, let's take a look at this piece. This is the, we're going to call this the upper receiver. It's just a piece of 1.5 inch PVC, 23 inches long, with some details cut into it and some things added. The first thing that I had to add is right here inside. This is called the front trunnion. And what the trunnion does is it holds the barrel centered along the axis of the shroud. The second part that I had to add was this front sight ramp. This is actually glued on to the receiver, and then there's actually a screw, but you can't see it because I've covered the screw with the actual sight blade. The vent holes in the shroud were made with a Forstner bit. A Forstner bit is flat on top and it doesn't wiggle around like if you've ever used a paddle bit. Sometimes they get a little bit sloppy. I actually have a drill press that I used to hold this while I did the drilling. You could do it by hand. If you have a drill press, you're going to have better results. The next portion I'd like to show you are these two cutouts right here. This is the ejection port. When you fire around, the shell is ejected. This is a mistake, but it's going to work for me. I don't even have to fill this out. What I'm going to do here, this was the original ejection port, and I used it to get me access to two screw holes back here, and I use those screw holes to attach the upper receiver to the lower receiver. Let's talk about the lower receiver next. The lower receiver was made out of two pieces of 1/2 inch plywood glued together and some 1/4 inch Luan added for details. The first detail that I had to add was the well for the magazine. It's just a piece of Luan with a camphor on it. It was glued on. There's a piece glued on to the back, and now I have a well for my magazine. I have this cheek piece here and this rail here, and on the other side I have another cheek piece, a rail, and I have this little lever that acts like a safety. In fact, there's an S and an F there for safe and fire. These screws actually do nothing, they're just there for looks. If you look at the original artwork, you'll see screws in those positions. Attached to the lower receiver is a handle. I could have made a wooden handle. I could have made it part of the 1/2 inch plywood, except my 1/2 inch plywood piece was too small. But instead what I thought I would use is this. This is a grip from an AR-15 M16, if you're familiar with that. In game parlance, that would be the assault carbine from Fallout New Vegas. I had to do some chiseling away right here to make a little boss for this to slide onto, and then it's held in with a screw. Okay. So now the pistol grip is attached to the lower receiver. Let's go ahead and attach the lower receiver to the upper receiver. Now remember, I cut this ejection port here by mistake, but I'm going to actually use this to my advantage by allowing me to access the screws that hold the upper receiver and the lower receivers together. Okay, so the upper and the lower receivers are now attached. You might be thinking, well, what are you going to do with that extra hole? That's okay. The extra ejection port will be covered up by the sight block, but we're going to do that as one of the last steps. The next thing that I want to do is attach the slide. The slide is used to cock a shotgun, and this particular slide, this is also an actual gun part. This is the forestock of a Mossberg Model 500, and it slides right onto a piece of 3/4 inch PVC. The PVC is going to slide over this dowel, and I'm going to see if I can get it close up here. You can see there's a little screw sticking out. That screw is going to hold this in place, but I can't just put it there. What I've got to do is space it out, and I'm going to do that with a couple of washers. I've got 3 tiny washers right here. 3 washers. already got a hole piloted in the slide. So there we go. The next piece to go on is going to be the buttstock. Now when you do yours, your buttstock is going to have a hole drilled in it, and that hole is going to be the rear trunnion that's going to hold your barrel in place. Okay, so the last thing to do is insert the barrel. Now the barrel has a hole in it, and that hole is going to be very important. I'll show you why in just a second. I want to have that hole be on the side. Here's why. This is the last real gun part I'm going to be using today. This is a slide swivel, and this is what you use to attach a strap to a gun. And this slide swivel is going to go right up here, and it's actually long enough that it's going to go into the barrel and hold it in place. So the slide swivel has flats so that you can use a wrench on it, just like you see me doing. It's in place. The last step is the rear sight block. And there you have it. Fallout Winchester City Killer. One word of warning, I guess I would be remiss if I didn't do that. This prop actually has real gun parts on it. The real gun parts make it look like a real gun. Here's another prop I did. Some of you history aficionados might recognize this as a Mosin Nagant model 9130. This is also a prop. This is wood, the barrel is plastic, the receiver is made out of dowels and PVC, but it does have an actual stock and an actual sight, and it looks pretty realistic. You want to make sure that when you're doing your Fallout films, the neighbors know that this isn't a real gun. Otherwise, something like this could fool somebody that you don't want to fool, such as the police or the sheriff. Anyway, thanks for watching. I hope you have fun making your own City Killer shotgun. I sure had fun making mine. Thanks for tuning in.